Well, I think it can be really profound. I often wonder what my husband went through in those early days. Um, he's not a person who would tell me, so I suspect it was probably very hard for him. I suspect it's much easier now. We thought we would never leave the house again. We actually sold our caravan. We were never going anywhere again for the rest of our life, which changed, and we eventually bought a caravan with facilities in it, and we've been travelling. So I think things can change, and but again, it is quite bad until such time as the person in pain can receive the help that we've been talking about through the rest of this, and then maybe then it's a little bit easier for the carer. But you can get to a situation where the carer needs help to take care of themselves. And that's another topic all within itself, isn't it, really? It's what should be done to help carers and what they need so they can continue caring.
Well, I'm not aware of any research in this area. I know that some has been done in those people who care for sufferers of rheumatoid arthritis, and certainly emotional issues are highlighted. In the absence of any research that I can come across, I would suspect that the emotional load on people caring for pain sufferers is quite considerable. I mean, we do know that relationships can break up because the partner in pain the partner cannot cope with his or her partner in pain. So that, to me, is signifies an emotional problem. But I don't think the research has been done. I mean, I think the carers are obviously in need of support and, in some cases, respite. We recognise that, but I don't think we've really tackled the issue in an organised way.
Of course, the issues for the carers of someone who is looking after someone with chronic pain are really, really different from the person who's in pain, but are of equal importance. It's like when you have two babies and one has a hole in the heart, which one deserves the most care? Well, they both deserve equal care. One might be different kind of care, but they both deserve equal care and attention. And oftentimes when you're the carer of someone in chronic pain, you tend to put your own needs aside because of the priority of caring for the person that you love or that you're even paid to care for. And so it's equally important, in fact it's tremendously important, that carers manage and take good care of their own physical, mental, emotional and spiritual health. When you think about it, the most benefit that you can be to yourself, to someone that you love, someone that you're caring for, the greatest gift that you can give them or yourself is the gift of your own good physical, mental, emotional and spiritual health. And then you're well fluffed up and replenished and able to be able in a place to care for someone else. And so it's the only place you really see this promoted is on aeroplanes. When they say when the mask comes down, first put the mask on you, and when you're breathing normally, put the mask on the children, on the other passengers. They never say we want you to run around the plane and put as many masks on as many people as possible before you collapse. And yet that's oftentimes what carers are doing in their own life. They're busy looking after other people's needs ahead of their own, and of course ultimately they get depleted and then burn out, and that's not going to be helpful for themselves, let alone the person that they're hoping to care for. And so it's very important that carers recognise what are the things that fluff me up, what are the things that replenish me, that put me back together again. Is it that early morning cup of tea on the back veranda where I just stare into the distance and listen to the morning carolling of the birds? Is it when I go for a walk with the dog in the early morning dew? Is it when I have a massage? Is it when I soak in a bath 3 nights a week? Is it doing some meditation, some relaxation techniques? Is it talking to someone on a regular basis, maybe having a cuppa with a good friend that you can really talk about your situation so that someone is hearing you, because you're endeavouring to care for and listen to someone else all day. So it's really important that you have a safe place where you can be listened to and cared for as well. It might be that you need to ensure that you get good night's sleep, that you might need to organise respite, which I know is much easier said than done for a lot of people, especially for those who are in rural or remote communities where it's very hard sometimes to get good quality support to look after the person that you're normally caring for. You know, there are 168 hours in the week, and every single one of them belongs to you. And it's important for carers that they divvy up their 168 hours so that they fluff themselves up first. Fill up your own inner bucket first, and then you're only ever giving from the overflow. If you're always giving from a half-empty bucket, you begin to resent what you're giving to everybody else that you haven't even given to yourself. And it's a sure path to burnout and depletion.
I think sometimes it is possible to feel that you are very alone in looking after somebody with pain. And the other thing is too that I think we're learning too that even things such as brain imaging and pain physiology is highlighting, and this is not just for carers but also for professionals dealing with people with pain, is that a lot of the circuits that are actually involved in pain in the brain are being switched on when we see somebody else in pain, which I think has huge implications for health professionals working with people with pain and also for carers, because their brain is responding and taking on that pain in a very physiological way. And I think it's really important, to whatever extent they can, is to make sure that they're also getting as much care as they can, because they're taking on that pain themselves. And we now know that that pain is taking its toll. So I know it's often difficult, and I know that there's often, we're pushing for carers to have more support themselves. But I think it's really important that they have time for themselves, they have their own supports to make sure that they're being cared for in the right way as well. And I think sometimes that doesn't happen because they're so focused on caring for somebody else. And they're often very generous and unselfish people themselves. But I think it's really important that they make sure that they're being cared for as well. Well, as you say, we know that chronic stress has an impact on the endocrine immune system. It changes the way that that functions, and over time that can take its toll. We also know that chronic stress has an effect on the brain, the way that our brain functions, brain centres work as well. So again, we keep on coming back to this issue of neuroplasticity. The brain changes the way that it functions, and that's not just from having chronic pain, but also from being in chronic stress. So it changes the effectiveness of the brain to block out signals. So for all of us, that system is working all the time, and generally it works very well. But the more we're in stress and the more long-term that stress is, the more and more that system is weakened in terms of being able to block out or filter or turn down the volume in pain. And I think that's what a lot of people experience, is it's not just the physical aspect of caring for somebody, and often that's quite significant if somebody has a disability in terms of helping them physically, but also that emotional stress and that long-term effect is flowing through and changing again physiology, so that any pain they experience themselves can actually be increased, the volume is turned up and they can experience it more.